Welcome everyone to this week. This is a new week. This is the 8th week. And we're dealing with the final provisions. So we have 4 parts of every legislation: preliminary, principal, miscellaneous. Now the final provisions. What is final provision? The chat box. Who can look at the final provisions, the definition? So in legislative drafting, final provision refers to the concluding section of any law. So it addresses transitional arrangements, repeal of existing laws, and any other necessary administrative detail to ensure the smooth operation of the law. Now, what are the key aspects of final provision? Number 1, savings. Number 2, consequential amendments. Number 3, repeals. Number 4, transitional arrangements. So then you have the schedules. Why are final provisions important? Because they provide clarity and legal certainty, administrative efficiency, and legal consistency. Consistency in law means that all the laws in a country should be saying the same, they should be in harmony. A law cannot say one thing, another law says another thing. There must be consistency, harmony. So it is in your final provisions you make sure that this new law is in harmony with other laws of the Federation. So usually the procedure is, when you're drafting the final provisions, you pick up the index of the laws of your country. In Nigeria, we have, as at 2004, our 2000 laws of the Federation, we have 552 laws. So when you're drafting a new law, you pick up the index of all the laws of Nigeria, those 552 laws. You look through them, see whether each provision, each of those laws, 552 laws, there should not be any conflict with the new law. If there's any conflict by the provisions, the sections, then that is when you do what is called consequential amendments. But if the entire existing law conflicts with the new law, then you do what we call repeal. You repeal the entire existing law so that this new law takes over. So this is how we operate. Final provisions are very thorough. It's not something you just gloss over. Imagine you have to look at 552 laws one by one to make sure that none of the existing laws is in conflict with the new law you're drafting. So very important. We have 552 laws. The index of the laws of Lesotho has, the index has 16,000 laws from 1800 to, so if you're drafting a new law in Lesotho, you pick up the index of the laws of Lesotho, which was recently published by the Lesotho Law Reform Commission. You check from law number 1 to law number 16,000 to make sure that none of the existing laws conflict with the new law you are drafting. If there's a conflict, then 2 things. You could either do consequential amendments, or you do outright repeal of the old law, existing law, so that the new law will take over. So in some laws, you may find that The consequential amendments are so many, they can be up to 100 because existing laws, portions of it are affected by this new law. So you need to amend all those sections. Now, it may require, if it's more than 10, you now create a schedule of consequential amendments. So this is a very important. We gave you the Nigerian Communications Commission Act 2003. Have a look at it. You'll see what we are trying to say. So final provisions are to be taken very seriously because they are very meticulously drafted. A new law can also repeal several existing laws. If the laws repealed by the new law are so many, you also create a schedule and put all those laws in a schedule. A schedule is what we know as appendix to a law. So instead of calling it an appendix, the technical name in legislative drafting is called schedule. Schedule to section so. A schedule is always tied to a section of the law. So the schedule will tell you the details because you cannot put all those details in the body of the law. You create a schedule at the back of the law, attach it. Schedule of all the repeals, all the laws that have been repealed by this new law. Please let me know if you understand what we're talking about. Every country has a complete index of its laws. In Lesotho, they did a very good job. They have alphabetical index, subject matter index, historical index. So you can use subject matter to check. You can use the history, the year to check. But it's important that you look at every law in that index. It is your duty. The legislative drafting is not a lazy man's job. It's a very tasking job. But you have to make sure that none of the existing laws is in conflict with this new law. If a portion of the existing law is in conflict, that is when you do what we call consequential amendments, which is part of final provisions. But if the entire existing law is in conflict with the new law, you have, and that is what we call repeals under final provisions. So it's a very thorough job, very thorough job. That is why in the United Kingdom, they have what they call the 4I principle. For every bill is drafted by a team of 4 lawyers. 2 of the lawyers are the drafters. The other 2 lawyers are called checkers. They check to make sure that everything about that new law complies with existing law. So in Lesotho, where they have 16,000 laws, the checker will make sure they check from number 1 to 16,000. Nigeria has less than 1,000 laws, federal laws. And it's not just your laws. Sometimes you need to check international treaties to make sure that this new law is not in conflict with international treaties. Any questions? Yes, let's see.
Thank you, Prof. Not a question per se, but from what you just said, I'm beginning to realize that we have a new Inheritance Act that was enacted last year, and we have the Land Act, which was enacted in 2010. And the new Inheritance Act deals with how land is to be inherited, and we also have the provision in the Land Act that deals with specifically how land is to be inherited alongside the land regulations. My prima facie view is that perhaps somewhere there might need to be some work to be done. I think there's some conflict. That is just to say, I think I understand the concept, and I can realize that we might be having an example in our jurisdiction where perhaps two legislations dealing with same thing might come in conflict when we now have to apply them in court.
You have to look at the law, the later law. Look whether they have consequential amendments, or you look under the repeals, which are part of the final provisions. Have a look, make sure before you make your claim. So if you pick up the inheritance law, look for the portion called final provisions, consequential amendments, then repeals. It could be that the Inheritance Act repealed the Land Act, or it amended some sections of the Land Act which are in conflict with the inheritance law. Why we call it consequential amendments is, as a consequence of the new law, we have to amend the existing law. That's why it's called consequential amendment. The consequence of this new law is that certain sections of the existing law has to be amended. That's why it's called consequential amendment. You have to deal with it. A new law can affect 1,000 existing laws. Under your consequential amendments, you have to deal with each of those laws that has been affected by the new law. So I want you to look at Nigerian Communications Commission Act, which I gave to you. You will now see how that law amended existing laws consequentially. Any other questions? Now, so let's go step by step, the parts of final provision. The first part of final provision is called savings and transitional. Very important, savings. Now, in the event that a new law is going to abolish an old scheme, or if abolish another agency of government to create a new agency, then you need to create savings and transitional provision. Transitional means there's a period of transition, maybe 1 year, maybe 18 months, from the old scheme to the new scheme. So you are going to provide under savings and transitional. That's where you provide a mechanism for people who have, for example, under Nigeria's Pensions Act 2004. Before then, we didn't have contributory pension. What we had was gratuities. After 35 years of service, you are paid a bulk sum, which is calculated as, I think, 60% of your salary times how many years. Now, when the new pension scheme came in 2004, it abolished gratuity and now said there's going to be a new pension scheme, which is contributory. Every worker should contribute 7.5 of his salary. The government will pay 7.5 and they keep it for you for 35 years. However, what about those who were near the age of retirement? They have served 33 years. Now, this new Pensions Act is coming. Does it mean they will not be paid gratuities? That would be injustice. So, under the Pensions Act 2004, we created a savings transitional and transitional provision, which says within the period of 5 years, all those who have 5 years left to retirement, they will still collect gratuities under the old pensions law. However, after 5 years, everybody will now transit to the new pension scheme, which is 7.5 contribution. So that was a new pension scheme. Now that is done under savings and transitional. You save the old scheme for those who are near to retirement, then you create the new one, transit them, transition, savings and transitional. So look at Nigeria's Pensions Act 2004 version. We have a 2014 version. But the way you find this savings and transitional is under the Pensions Act 2004. Very important. Welcome. Welcome. Oh, welcome. I'm on a lecture.
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
I'm just talking about you already.
Oh, wow.
I think if
Sorry, excuse me. I had a visitor. So look at the Pensions Act 2004. That's an example of savings and transitional. Very important. Okay, now what will happen if you do not draft savings and transitional provision? What do you think would happen? What do you think will happen? Can anybody tell us? Any suggestion? What will happen if you do not draft savings and transitional provision? Do we even understand the concept?
Yes, sir.
Yes, Ajulo.
Yes, sir. What I think that might happen is there might be a confusion. There might be a contrary of opinion in respect of the same subject matter in the course of the drafting the new legislation in conflict with the previous one, sir.
Good. Now, you that just answered now, let me give you an example. There's a law called Nigerian Civil Defense Corps 2007. I want you to look at that law. The civil defense was created. It's like an offshoot of the police. Now, police officers who transitioned from police to the Civil Defense Corps, it was provided that this is what will happen. If you are an inspector in police, your new rank in civil defense, you know, the ranking of civil defense is not exactly the same as police. So in that savings and transitional provision, they will say that police officers who are transitioning from police to civil defense corps, what will be their rank? That is where you write it, under savings and transitional. Another example, if you look online, another example is called Oil Mineral Producing Area Development Commission, OMPADEC. OMPADEC. OMPADEC was created, NDDC took over from OMPADEC in the year 2000. OMPADEC was 1993. There's an act, 1993. By the year 2000, a new law called Niger Delta Development Commission. So that new law replaced the old commission. Now, go and read, there's transitional provision in the OMPADEC that the staff of OMPADEC are hereby transited. Their jobs are saved and transited to the new Niger Delta Development Commission. What will happen if you do not include that? What do you think will happen? What do you think will happen if that was not included? Yes. Okay. What do you think will happen if it was not written?
Hello?
Yes,
They will be laid off, sir. Good afternoon, sir.
yes, welcome.
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
they will
The
lose
staff
their
will be
job.
laid off. They will lose. Yes, sir.
That means only those who came with the new law will now be.
The
Oscar, I
employee.
posted something on your. Please share it on the platform. Example of savings and transitional. You see what has happened. This is under the Nigerian Pension Act 2004. Oscar is going to paste section 98 towards the end, part of the final provisions. You see the savings that were made, laws that were saved, jobs that were saved, pension schemes that were saved and transited to the new scheme. Oscar, please share on the platform. Don't assume that if you don't write it, oh, they know now, they know that these old people should join the new office. No, it doesn't work that way. It doesn't. Not just staff, the assets and liability of the old commission has to be transited to the new one. If not, contractors who gave contracts under the letter-headed paper of the old commission, they cannot get their monies if you do not create savings and transition. Notice the word savings. You save the assets, you save the liabilities, you transition it to the new scheme. Oscar will share it. You see how it is drafted. Usually, it begins with the uh, expression notwithstanding the provisions of this law. That's how you start drafting savings and transitional. Notwithstanding. Any questions? Any questions? Let's see, your hand is up.
Thank you, Prof. My question is, is it also part of the saving clause where a statute prescribes the exempted categories of people maybe from application of the new law, perhaps?
No,
Like
no.
where the statute would say, well, an example, our labor code did not apply to civil servants. We applied the Public Service Act, but now the Labor Act encompasses all these people. So my question is, if it was vice versa, like if before we applied to all, but now the new law exempts certain category, such clauses, do they form part of the savings clause, or are they part of the savings clause?
No, I think they are more what's it called? Application clause. Remember, application is part of preliminary provisions. Somebody should read section 98. You see how it's worded. 98. Somebody please read 98.
Section
Sir, can I
98
read?
says, okay,
Okay.
I was reading. Sorry about that. Good afternoon, sir.
Mm.
Section 98 says, Section 98(1), notwithstanding the provisions of any other enactment or law, under this act shall be used to meet the claims of any of the custodians, creditors. Okay, it's my system. Okay, let me repeat it. Section 98(1), notwithstanding the provisions of any other enactment or law, no pension funds or assets kept with a custodian under this act shall be used to meet the claims of any of the custodian's creditors in the event of liquidation of the custodian. Sub 2 says, in the case of winding up, liquidation or otherwise cessation of business of the custodian or any or all of its shareholders, the pension funds or assets in the custody of the custodian shall not be seized or be subject of execution of a judgment debt or stopped from transfer to another custodian. Section 99, is it sub 1 again or 3? Okay,
99 is now the repeals. Somebody
sir.
else should read 99. Section 99 is the repeal section. So look at how many laws were repealed because of this Pension Act. Yes, Madam Anino.
Okay, sir. Thank you. Any board of trustees established under the enactment repealed in subsection 1
Oh, 99
of
one,
this section.
sorry, 99 one.
And that, okay, 1. Okay, sorry, sir. Sorry. 99(1).
Yes.
Save as herein provided, the following enactments are hereby repealed. That is, A. The Pension Act 1990, B. The Police and Other Agencies Pensions Offices Establishment etc. Act 1993, and the Police Pension Rights of Inspector General of Police Act 1993. Should I continue, sir?
No, that's all. So you can
Okay.
see about 3 laws had to be repealed. 3 laws have been repealed because of this law. Now look at still under 99. The transitional provision is sub 2 and 3. Somebody should read sub 2, and somebody else read sub 3. You can see, because people will be affected by the repeal of those 3 laws, pension laws. Now see the arrangement, which is the transitional arrangement. Somebody should read section 99 sub 2 and sub 3.
Sir, should I read it?
Somebody else, any other person?
Okay.
Any other person? Any other person? Okay. Madam Anino, go ahead.
99(2). Is it 2 or 3, sir? Sorry.
2, then 3.
Okay. Any board of trustees established under the enactments repealed in subsection 1 of this section is hereby dissolved, and all the pension funds or assets being held by such board of trustees before the commencement of this act shall be transferred in accordance with the provisions of section 43 of this act, or rules and guidelines may be made by the commission. 3. The repeal of the enactment specified in subsection 1 of this section shall not affect any additional fringe benefits other than pension and gratuity enjoyable under retirement by any person before before the commencement of this act, except as provided by this act. Thanks, sir.
So that's it. So you can see the transition. So sub 3 tells you those who are supposed to receive additional fringe benefits, they will still receive it, even if the Pensions Act, those benefits under the Pensions Act that was repealed, they will still benefit pending such a time. So you need to draft transitional provisions. Very important. Very important. Otherwise, people will lose their jobs, contractors will lose their monies. So assets and liabilities have to be transited to the new organization. So today is Monday. We are introducing you to this concept of final provisions and how it is drafted. The purpose of drafting it carefully is because you want to prevent legal uncertainty. People should be certain that they have not lost their jobs, they have not lost assets, they have not lost liabilities because of a new law coming into place. All right. Any questions? Any questions? Any questions? Any questions? Any questions? Any questions? Okay, so I take it we understand to the whole of this week we are dealing with final provisions. So today is just an introduction. Tomorrow we shall continue.
Thank you, sir.
Yes.
Yeah.
If you have any
Have a
questions,
nice day. Yes, sir, everyone.
right.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, sir.
All right. Enjoy the rest of your day. See you tomorrow.